Hey, it's me, MLB. Here's chapter 42 of Touched. This one's titled Pizza Delivery. I like the house, you said softly with a smile as you looked up into Hawks's golden eyes. Well, I'm glad you both find it endearing, the agent said with excitement. We'll take it, you said as you glanced at the agent, then back to Hawks. The agent looked from you to Hawks and he smiled. Well, you heard the lady, Hawks said as he looked from you to the agent with his lopsided grin. Where do we sign? You grinned from ear to ear and squeezed his hand. The place was yours. After signing some papers, which Hawks quietly reminded you to sign with a new made-up signature that would match your alias name, the agent handed over the keys. Hawks had asked him to waive any waiting fees, so the place was yours, effective immediately. You couldn't believe it. You were stoked, ready to start a new life with a new name alongside your husband, Hawks, your winged hero. The next 2 weeks were an absolute blur. You and Hawks arranged for the things from his apartment to be moved to the new house, and he arranged for your mum to be moved to a mental health respite for some professional care. He still hadn't told you about your mum yet, because during the first week at the mental health clinic, they wanted to assess where she was at mentally before permitting any visitors. He also hadn't told you about the fact that your estranged uncle lived just down the road yet either. Hawks had questioned you lightly about how much you knew about your mother's side of the family, and you'd told him pretty much the same story that your uncle had told him. You knew your uncle existed, but you'd never met him. Well, you had met him that once when he told you to keep walking the day that he took your mum, but you didn't know it was him. And he knew you existed, but same thing, had never met you. Well, until the day he freaked out and acted all hardcore to scare the girl in front of him on the street, but he didn't know it was you. Hawks was planning to invite them over for dinner once you and he had moved in, and would make introductions then. He had a feeling you'd love Brian. Is that the last of it, baby? Hawks called out to you as he walked into the empty apartment. Yep, you called back from where you were doing a last look through the rooms. All out. Okay, I'm going to direct the truck to our house, he called. You sure you want to take the taxi and not fly with me? I am 100% certain, you called back as you walked out of the empty guest room and into the living room. Oh, but I like doing flying games with you, he pouted playfully. No thanks, I'd prefer not to lose my voice from screaming, you replied. Yeah, best save your screaming for later tonight, he said with a seductive smirk. You bit your lip. You were secretly pumped for what was going to come later. I'll catch you later, cutie. Don't worry, I'll have eyes and ears on the taxi the whole time, he said with a smile as he walked across to you and kissed you on the lips. I'm so excited for our new house. So am I, you replied excitedly. As promised, Hawks made sure that one of his red feathers hovered around the taxi as it drove you to the new home. The taxi driver was a little weirded out by the whole thing and swerved heavily a few times to avoid running into it, but you got there in one piece. How was your trip? Hawks asked when you hopped out of the taxi at the door of your new countryside house. The driver was super freaked out by the feather and kept screaming at it in his mother tongue, but apart from that, that's fine, you said with a sheepish smile. Hawks chuckled. Well, we're almost unloaded here, he replied casually, and you gave him the most perplexed look. What do you mean? You guys only just arrived. Feathers, baby, Hawks laughed. You looked past him to the van, and he had sent off multiple feathers to help carry things inside your new house, practically doing all the unloading by himself. Now we just got to unpack and we're all set, he said with a smile as he paid the taxi and the poor driver left. In another half hour the van was completely empty and all items were in the house. Thanks, fellas, Hawks said with a bright smile as he shook the hands of the 4 guys who'd come to help with the job. Much appreciated. Ah, not a problem, Hawks, the leader removalist said. Pleasure to help out a hero. Ah, you flatter me, Hawks said with a laugh. Have a good day. He waved them off, and then you two entered the house. It's all ours, baby, just you and me now, he said with a loving smile as he gave you a kiss, then picked you up and spun you around. You squealed with delight. You were home. It was late in the afternoon when you'd finished unpacking the kitchen, and Hawks had set up the bed in the main bedroom. You were starving. The 2 of you had only had breakfast that morning because you'd been too preoccupied for lunch. You hungry, baby? Hawks asked as you walked into the kitchen. Starving, you replied emphatically. Hey, this kitchen looks awesome, by the way, Hawks said, standing back and looking at how you'd set everything up. Thanks, you replied happily. I'm pretty pleased with it. And so you should be, he said with a lopsided smile as he walked over and wrapped you in his arms, kissing the top of your head. I'll organise dinner, right? Is pizza okay? Oh, yeah, you said happily. Sweet. I'll get barbecue chicken, he replied. Why didn't I see that coming, you thought with a laugh. I'll make the order now, he said, pulling his phone out and walking off. You smiled and continued setting up. It was another 20 minutes later when there was a knock at the door. "Can you get that, babe?" Hawks called to you from the bedroom. "No, why? I can't talk to people," you wailed internally, putting what you were holding down and slowly walking to the door, trying to practice something to say. You took a deep breath in as you reached the door and opened it slowly. There were two guys standing there with pizzas in hand, but when you looked up into the face of the taller guy, you recognised him immediately as the man who had told you to keep walking when he had taken your mum. You froze in terror, then screamed and slammed the door shut, locking it quickly. "Hawks! Hawks!" you screeched as you tore into the bedroom. "What is it?" He laughed as you jumped into his arms. The guy, Mum, he took Mum, he's here," you stuttered in fear, your body shaking uncontrollably. Hey, whoa, chicken, there's something I need to tell you," he said as he held you close. Then he paused. "Wait, I think it's best if I show you." He put you down and took your hand, leading you to the door and unlocking it. You shrunk back behind him and ducked under his wing as he opened the door. "Hey, boys," Hawks greeted the two men at the door with a friendly smile. You were confused and pulled your head out from behind your husband, but kept your body still nestled in under his wing. "Does Hawks know them? Did he set up my mum being taken? I'm so confused. Are they friendly?" The taller of the two men peeked his head to the side to see you from around Hawks and smiled. "Hi, Yin," he said in a deep voice. You did a small, shy wave. "How does he know my name?" "My name's Anthony. I'm your mum's brother." Your jaw dropped. "Uncle Anthony?" you gasped. And there ends chapter 42. Stay tuned for chapter 43.